What's going on, guys? Care of Your Reptiles here. Thank you so much for watching. Like, subscribe, share, as it really helps with the algorithm. Even leave a comment below. I really appreciate it. Today's video, I'll be going over whether or not blood pythons make great pets. So I've been keeping blood pythons now for exactly 6 months. I got my first one in December. That was my male, my boy Brock. If you guys follow me on Instagram, TikTok, even the YouTube shorts, you guys see him there. He's very docile. He's a big male, but he's very docile. He definitely does not fit the stereotype that blood pythons get for being very aggressive, as most people would say, but in all reality, snakes are not aggressive. They are defensive, and they require a lot of work. So, do blood pythons make great pets? For the keeper that is willing to put in the work with a juvenile, yes, these guys make excellent pets. Right now, I am still working on my girl Hera here. She is sweet in a sense, but she can still be very, very defensive at times. It's not very constant. It's not consistent. It's just sometimes she really just doesn't want to be bothered, and that's okay. I'll go in sometimes, and if she gives me that sense that she really just isn't the mood for interaction, I won't bother her. It's not a crime to leave your snakes alone. That's pretty much what they want in general. I see a lot of people kind of just force their snakes into the interaction when it's not really wanted for them. They tolerate it, but they don't really like it. So if she is really giving me signals that she just really does not want to be handled, I won't do it. Which her signals are, she gets really huffy, but she doesn't hiss, which is kind of strange because I have ball pythons before and they would hiss. But she doesn't hiss. She'll kind of huff up, and she'll let me know that she doesn't want to be bothered. But other times, I go in and grab her, and it's perfectly fine. Like today, I went and grabbed her, and she did absolutely nothing. But we are still working on our relationship. She was born May 1st, so she actually is a year. I thought this was a scale. Okay, I thought a scale was coming off of her, but it wasn't. She is a year old. And she still is like very, very skittish. About a week and a half ago, she actually tagged me. It was in my hand, and I had just pulled her out, and I noticed that she had a piece of substrate hanging out of her mouth. So, me being me, I went to reach around towards her face, and I shocked her. But I managed to get the substrate, but I shocked her. I scared her. And in her defense, not in a sense of aggression, but in her defense, she struck at me. That was my fault. I provoked her, and I got bit. That's just what happens. When you keep snakes, you just gotta expect to get bit. You may be the person that gets lucky and never get bit, but it happens, and we just gotta deal with it. But yes, for the keeper that is willing to put in the time with a juvenile, yes, these guys can be great pets. She was, I believe, 10 months old when I got her here. Leviathan, I believe he may have been maybe somewhere between 6 to 8 months when I got him here. And he's never really been defensive with me, like ever. The only problem that I ever had out of Leviathan was when I went to go pick him up from FedEx. I brought him home. I opened his box. And of course, from the stress from the shipment and everything like that, there's no telling what they was doing with his box. I opened his box and he struck twice. And he kind of got me, but not really. He didn't draw any blood, but I felt his teeth. But other than that, he's been the perfect snake since I've had him. And these guys get a really, really bad rap for being overly aggressive, but overly defensive, as we know. But again, it's just, you got to work with these babies. If you get them and you don't interact with them, you kind of just let them do their own thing for their entire life. They never get used to human interaction. Yes, these animals can be very defensive, and for most, that can be a major problem. So again, that's why I stress that you get juveniles that you have no problem working with and raising these animals up to their full potential. Especially for people that have never kept blood pythons. I noticed that this is a species that is not very widespread. So not a lot of people know about them. We have quite a few groups with a lot of people in them. So there are like a decent surrounding with them, but it's nowhere near like your ball pythons or your other types of boas and stuff like that. These guys are pretty rare. So for the newer keepers that come in and want blood pythons, I always recommend that you get a juvenile. Yes, the majority of juveniles, I'm not sure if that cut off. Yes, the majority of juveniles can be defensive, but in my opinion, it's best to work with a defensive juvenile versus a very defensive adult. Again, that can bring on a whole nother ball game of issues. But she is that example. I would rather work with her now versus purchasing her as an adult and she was still acting this way. That would have brought a whole nother ball game of issues that I really wouldn't want to deal with. But if you're that keeper that you know what you're getting, you know what you're dealing with when it comes to blood pythons, and you know their defensive levels, and you don't mind that defensive nature as an adult, then yes, you can go ahead and work with them to kind of tame them down. I don't think it's impossible, but it will be very hard to tame down an adult versus a juvenile. Like I said, Brock, he came in. I'm not exactly sure how old Brock is, but he's estimated to be somewhere in between 2 and 3. So not entirely an adult, probably a sub-adult, but he was already a nice size when I got him. And his previous owner, I don't know the guy. I don't know who he is, but just off of how Brock interacted with me when I first got him, I can tell that he was nowhere near used to human interaction. I opened the lid to his container, and with him being my first blood, I was just like, what did I just get myself into? But I didn't want to give up on him. I love animals. I am not the type of person to give up on animals, no matter how aggressive or defensive they are. That's just not me. I will do whatever it takes in my power to work with that animal to my best ability. And if it just doesn't work out in the long run, then I'm just stuck with that animal. I'm not really the type to give up animals. I'll get them, but I'm not really the type to give up animals. And Brock is like he turned out to be really docile, but had he kept that defensive nature that he had on day one, he would have just been my problem child that I would have had to deal with until he died. Especially with how he looks. You guys have definitely seen Brock, and he is a gorgeous blood python. Is he my favorite looking one? No, I would have to say it's definitely in between this girl and Leviathan. She's actually coloring up nice, as you guys can see. I don't want to spook her too much, but you guys can see her. She is coloring up nice. It seems like she's getting a bit more yellow, but only time will tell. But yeah, she's gorgeous. Leviathan, he's getting some size on him as well, and his colors are starting to pop. So in the next video, I will have him out. With you guys see her fast movements. With those, I try to be careful because sometimes her fast movements make me jump, which is considered a fast movement for her, and I don't want that to bring out her defensive side and cause more problems. But it's definitely something to watch out for. But yes, juveniles are definitely what most people should go for. Even experienced keepers, in my opinion. You want something that you can raise up from this tiny baby and just see it become this beautiful blossom of an animal. That's just always the best experience, in my opinion. Yes, you can buy adults, but I really don't see the purpose unless you have like a goal for breeding that you're trying to hit like ASAP or within the next year or so. That would be the only reason I see you buy an adult. But if you're not going for that aspect or that goal or whatever, and you just want a pet, absolutely go for a juvenile. Raise them up, build that bond with them. As people say, you can't bond with snakes, but I definitely think there's some sort of relationship, understanding there. Maybe not necessarily a bond, but they definitely know the difference between you and, let's say, prey or something. They know how to tolerate you. They know how to accept you for who you are. But definitely go for a juvenile. But yes, definitely blood pythons make great pets in my experience, in my personal experience. Someone else may have a different experience with these guys, but I absolutely love them. Right behind Gaboon vipers, blood pythons are my favorite species. So Gaboons are my favorite venomous species, and blood pythons are my favorite non-venomous species. And in a way, they are very, very similar. I won't go into that at all, but they are very similar, which kind of explains why they are both my favorite species. But yes, if you are thinking about getting into blood pythons, why wait? We have a ton of great breeders in this space, in this community, that would definitely help you get started in the right direction. We've got blood pythons, Cara L. Norris, she's great. We've got Juggernaut Reptiles, Victor Laluz, who she came from. Dan Magano Snakes, he's on YouTube. He's got a ton of educational videos when it comes to blood pythons. Dan Magano was actually one of the first guys I saw on YouTube that kind of educated me on these snakes. And Elijah Armez was actually the first guy that I personally spoke to gain more information about them. So we definitely have some breeders in this space that will definitely get with you on a personal level to help you out in the right direction. I really hope this video helped you guys out on deciding whether or not blood pythons are great pets. In my experience, they are. Hopefully they are for you as well. And as always, guys, take care of your reptiles.